Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. It is winter, or thereabouts. Technically, it just kind of recently became fall in game, but we are getting wintry weather with lots of snow, which makes me glad that we changed out for our winter clothing for the season. And unfortunately, we're going to be getting a lot wetter because we're going to be outside a lot. And I have been busy around the house. As you saw, I did some chores in the last video, and I've also done a few more chores in between there. Did some milking of the sheep and processing some cheese, and oh, that reminds me, and harvesting of our final crops. Now this is almost done. I'm gonna give it one more day to let these 8 out of 9s mature, but these should be fine in here for another couple days anyway, so I'm not super duper worried about them. Now, on the topic of barn animals. Yes, that's right, folks. We are going to get to it today. We are going to build a barn much closer to home so that I don't have to spend a minute running back and forth between here and the barns whenever I want milk or eggs or meat and what have you. We're going to have the animals right over here. And some of you have expressed some concerns that the animals might end up being too close at some point. I think we'll be okay, because generally the closest we are going to be to the animals will be in this room here, and even from here, let's see, we're at negative 240-ish. So we are about a dozen blocks away from the nearest sheep, about a dozen and 2, so 14 to the nearest pigs, and about 20 couple blocks away from the chickens. So I don't think we'll be scaring the chickens. The noises from the sheep and the pigs might be a concern, but we'll have to see how that pans out. Now, I have also put out a couple of product bins here, and in them we have most, but again, not all of the things I think we'll need for today's build. We have a lot of building materials for the interior here, including some nails and strips so that we can make some nice big 2x4 gates right in here, and also down at this end. We are going to tap into our ebony logs as well. I think we're going to use probably some ebony wood, so we'll get basically 3 times as many pieces of wood out of this than if we were just using logs, which is good because we don't have many logs. We got some pine, some redwood, some strewn straw for the floor, some granite, stone, and cobble, and even some dry stone for building structural bits. And I think we've left out the lake ice, which I think I'll use again for the skylights here. Get some nice milky skylight color going on. Let's go ahead and tuck these in here. We have our usual array of tools and some extra mortar. And then in this box we have the roof materials. Now that's going to be sod roofing and probably dirt, because I think I've been doing some designing here, and I think what I want to do is here, if I can get up on the actual stairs, about here, we will start a slanted roof going in that direction. And it'll be like a 1 to 2 or even maybe a 1 to 3 slope, so very gentle. I would like it to kind of, I don't know, end above the ground a little bit here, just so we don't have drifters able to clamber up onto the roof and come up onto the rest of our house and annoy us. And yes, that means I do want to do something about this roof over here, but that's for a different day, I think. One area I don't have plans for yet is right in here. I haven't really thought about what I want to put in here, and I think I want to wait because 1.19 looks like it'll be dropping pretty soon. And I think I might want to wait and see if there's anything that we can collect or build with or otherwise need a functional space for in 1.19 that we could fit into here, because we have a lot of room to work with. We're going to have, let's see, if we kind of build over to, say, here as our room, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-ish blocks wide by like over a dozen long for doing whatever we need to in here. Be that more leather making or antler hanging or what have you. I think I want to save this space for something, so I'm going to leave it blank for now. Something else I've done is I've kind of marked where I think we need to start digging down in order to build a second staircase down into our basement. And I think we'll start with that just to get this over and done with. Also to see how good or bad my math was here. But let's go ahead and start digging down into our basement and see if we can connect to our hallway down here. I think I missed the hallway. Ah, I did miss the hallway. By not a small number of blocks, too. Well, that's a concern. So we need to go that way in order to dig down. Okay. Apparently, I need a new measuring tape because that failed me really badly here. Okay. I see how it's going to be, game. I see how it's going to be. Well, in that case, I think what I might do is, see, we want to come at the hall down here from, like, this direction. If we come at it from this direction, we would need to start our staircase, like, way over here. That's a little farther than I want to go. So I suppose what we could do, and this I don't think is too crazy, is we could just do a bit of a landing, like right here, and then curl it around to meet the hallway. So let's try that here. That's not too shabby, I don't think. I could do it. I could live with that. That is a perfectly fine solution, I think. Bit of a spin around here, and we're in the hallway and in our home. That way we have quick access from our sheep milking straight into our cellar, where we can drop our milk off in the barrels and continue our cheese making. And of course, for any hides we get, we'll be right next to our tannery over here, although I might want to expand this given how much leather we are making and how much more I have to go. We have tons of hides here. So, without further ado, and while the rain continues to pound down on our heads, I think we should get down to some building here. Now, I think the first thing I want to get out of the way is going to be the floors. With any build, you are going to have a lot more luck with getting everything in place, especially animals, if you deal with the floors first. I'm actually going to probably turn these into chiseled blocks just so I can not clog up my sandstone storage any more than already is. So let's go ahead and we're going to take out the snow here, give us a minute to work. I'm going to tear out all of these floors and replace them with strewn straw, which I think is, of course, the perfect floor for any barn animal. Okay, with that all said and done, let's go ahead and start on the walls here. Now we're going to go for a bit of a different design than both earlier this season and in the previous season, where I'm going to build up a 2-block high wall around these areas here so that we have a means of reaching down into these pens with our cleaver, which is sitting over here, or with our knife. Because one of the problems I've been having is that over in the barn over there, we have a platform that is actually 2.5 blocks high. So we'll just do that to emulate that. And when I am harvesting the animals, while I can sit and harvest just fine, I can't actually get anything out of the animal. I'm just too far away. So if we move it down by a block, the animals still can't get us. The pigs can't jump up and bite us. The sheep can't jump up and gore us. But we can still harvest and actually get the materials out of the animals. So that is the plan there. That's why this is only 4 blocks wide. That way we can stand basically up here and still have a reasonable chance of actually getting any animals that have fallen in these 2 squares here in the middle. Now the chickens, of course, the chickens are going to be special children. So we still have to basically hermetically seal these chickens in, otherwise they will popcorn their way out. So I am going to probably have to modify our design here in order to accommodate a full-size, full-height wall all the way to the ceiling. But that shouldn't be too huge of a hurdle. I am going to be using a similar single wide wall along the fronts of all of these, and we'll be using a double wide wall all along the outside. And this is so that we can have an area to walk here and also have then a full wall back here that is like attractive to look at from anywhere in the barn. Now, to that end, I have gathered a lot of granite cobblestone and other granite stone types. Let's go ahead and get a few of these out here, and we're going to just sort of build a frame of the granite with the cobblestone, and then we'll come in and kind of speckle it with the other types of granite that we're going to use. So let's start with these fronts here. And then let's do these double wide walls. So there's that. That's a pretty good start. But we need these walls to be 2 blocks high, of course. Let's go ahead and just build them 2 blocks high. Okay, and there we go. We now have 2 block high walls of pure gray granite cobblestone. And yep, this texture is a bit noisy all by itself, which is why we are going to start tearing some of this out and putting in a few blocks here and there of bricks and maybe some dry stone walls, which are very expensive to make, like so. And I'm just going to go through and kind of pepper this in here a little bit so we can have a bit of texture breakup going on so our eyes don't go crazy trying to look at this stuff. And with just a couple minutes of work, we have something looking a bit more like this. So it's still pretty noisy, but I think a lot easier on the eye. I'm actually going to probably doctor this up a little bit. Yeah, that's a bit better. Maybe something right here, too. Another one of you. There we go. Bit of quality assurance. And I'm not really going to worry about the blocks back in here, because I think a lot of these are going to get covered up, and we're just not going to see them a whole lot anyway, so it really shouldn't be an issue. Now, I know I said to start with the floors, and we did, but then we moved on to the walls, and that's because I wanted to make sure that we were identifying the places where we will and won't see the floors out here. I also am a little bit undecided on what to do with the floor. I was hoping to do a nice dark color in here, but we don't have a ton of ebony. We have a little more back in here, so a little bit more than a stack. I think I'm going to go for it and see if we can swing it. If not, we can rip all this out and turn it back into boards and use it for what I was going to originally. But I think it's time for us to deal with this floor and see if we can make it something that we will be enjoying walking on, rather than this hard sandstone that leaves kind of grit everywhere. You track it into the house. Just, it's awful stuff, man. I'm telling you. And with that squared away, we now have tons more sandstone to deal with. That's fine, though. Let's go ahead and get out some ebony. We're going to break all of this down into planks. And we're going to turn all those planks into slabs. And we're going to see just how much area we can cover with one of these stacks of logs. So let's lay them down. Okay, that's not too bad. We have 4 by 10 for 42 more slabs. I think we can swing that and still have enough for what I want to do with this. And there we go. We have a nice warm but dark floor and neutral walls. So we have a nice grounding color here. And that means we can experiment with brighter colors higher up. And to some extent, that's just what we're going to do. So let's get some more of these going on. We're going to need to break this guy down and this guy. We're going to build us some full-on planks. And these planks are going to go in the corners here of some of these areas. And they're going to be right about here, I think. Let's do 3 tall. Why not? That should work okay. And it looks like we are going to need some more ebony, so I'm going to grab, well, that stack. I did just hear, I'm pretty sure, a bear, a new bear. It was not the one over there. I'm realizing they're very quiet to you guys, but with my headphones on, I can hear them pretty well. Also, my lizard brain is definitely tuned to listen for the bears because they terrify me. Drifters? Whatever. Bears? Oh yeah. Pants pooping time. And there we go. Doing pillars of ebony is going to help bring the floor color up a little bit and also give us something to build a frame with to keep our eyes attached to certain areas of the build. Oh, and sudden snow. Now, something I am realizing here is that I kind of goofed a little bit. There is a design element I wanted to use that actually requires us to rip out some of these stones here and replace them with, well, air. Because I wanted to put the troughs basically under here, like this, and over here as well. Put one down in here, and then one over here, like so. So I'm thinking what we're going to do is we're going to lift out all these blocks here, replace those with some more strewn straw, and we'll do that for basically all of these here. So we'll do here, and along this back wall, we'll have room for 2 more troughs for the pigs there, and then one over here. And the chickens will be about the same thing. We are going to probably just do some, yeah, sure, along the back here, and then on the sides, just the same as the others. So that means we do need to actually dig out some of this dirt back here and replace it with some of these additional blocks we have. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get that looking better, hopefully. And we're also going to take a break to harvest our flax a bit here. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm kind of thinking that having stone back here and back here probably isn't the way to go. I'm actually liking it a bit more with the packed dirt back there, which means it might actually go really well if we were to put some pine back there. Now, this is going to probably evoke memories of the first season's barn, where we used a lot of granite, stone, and pine. But I think it's a nice combination. It might be a good theme to bring back here for our second barn of this season. So I think I'm going to try that, and we'll see how it turns out. So let's dig these out here. Let's tuck some wood in here. Yep, I do like that combo. That is just a nice combo. Pine and cobblestone. Let's go ahead and do that, but I am thinking we're going to want to chisel this down a little bit. One, because it's going to be hard to get to the troughs from above if we have to really aim right at the side. But if we chisel this back a little bit, or actually up a little bit, we can be able to peer down and past this bit of wall here and get an angle to fill troughs from. So let's get all of these in first and worry about that next. Okay, so you'll notice that I left these as stone. That's because on this side they are quite visible. So I think we're going to need to probably chisel these into those blocks, which isn't a problem because I happen to have my chisel set right here. So let's go ahead and do a bit of that. Chisel you. We're going to add you to this block and this one. Pick that, and we should be able to just do this and add this right in there. And now we have wood on this side and stone on the other. Or dirt, in that case. And there we go. So in order to kind of lift this up and make it a bit less blocky, I think what we're going to do here is we are going to turn some of these into chiseled blocks. Probably, do we go the whole way back? Ooh, I don't know if we want to. Maybe we just leave them like that. If that's the case, do I bring it back like this? I might. That does require some more strewn straw there, though, so I'm kind of inclined to just leave it a bit like this. Yeah, that's not too shabby. That's not too shabby. I can get behind that. Let's do it there, and let's do it to all of these locations here, too. There we go. So now, if we hop up onto this ledge here, if there's a trough down there, we come over the edge, we'll have a little bit more space to maybe see the edge of the trough and insert some food into it. Barring that, we could kind of just build little, or chisel little holes into these here, so we can just reach down into the troughs directly from above. And that could be what we do if the sheep and other animals give us a hard time getting to their troughs from here. But for now, I think I'm pretty happy with this so far. Just not with all the snow everywhere. It's making moving around kind of difficult. Let's get to work on the back walls here, because all of these walls here, except for the chicken coop, are going to just be 2 blocks tall. We don't have to worry about pigs and sheep popcorning out of their pens. It's only the chickens. And just a reminder as to why we are using so many full blocks instead of things like fences, and including why we're using full blocks as the backing here, is that animals have a tendency to kind of phase through matter during either chunk load or game load, or if they are born or if they grow up while they are kind of partway into a block, they end up sort of just shunting through the block. And that's why you'll end up with baby pigs who start out in here, grow up, and suddenly they are out in the hallway. That also means we're not going to be using fence gates right here, because fence gates are partial blocks, so any critter that is born or grows up right here is likely to be shunted into the hallway. No, for that we have purple heart. Just kidding, I'm just kidding. Don't get on my case, guys. Come on. Now we're going to be using redwood doors for this because, again, we have redwood in the build palette here. It's going to make sense to have some redwood doors down here. Of course, you can't place doors on snow, which is kind of weird. Let's get these in here, and looking fine. Now, what we can do here is that we don't want to have anything on this side of the wall that is chiseled into the wall that could let the animals phase through it. We can get a little creative out here, if we have a hammer in our offhand, of course, and we can chisel these down a bit if we want to. And I think I want to. Just these corners a bit to round them off. I'll bring in some more of the ebony in here, and we will fill those in at some point. But we can at least make this a little bit less in-your-face brutalistic right here. Oops. There we go. Kind of like downstairs where we have the cutouts in the walls for our door frames. I think this helps quite a bit. Let's get one more pair of doors, and we will get the chicken coop filled in too. And bingo bango, there we go. Looking good. So let's get moving then on these back walls here. Let's gussy them up and make them something worth looking at while we're down here in the barn. And we're going to do that with, I think, a combination of pine and redwood. And I want to do a sort of a backing of redwood and then use some pine as a bit of like another archway. So we have kind of the same pattern here, up here, but it will be a bit different where we're bringing the pine from the background out to the arch and replacing it with the redwood. So just to sort of get a taste of what that'll look like, let's get up in here. We're going to remove some of this with a shovel. There we go. And then we come with some pine here, do some vertical here, like so. Then across the top, we put the pine horizontally. And then if we want to get really crazy, we could come in here and do something like this and do a bit of chiseling and falling down to the floor, apparently. But we can come in here with a chisel and turn most of these into chiseled blocks, probably across the top here too. And we will probably need to add one more layer of redwood in, but that shouldn't be much of a problem. Let's get up here now and drop our final bits of redwood across the back here. We'll just kind of tuck some dirt into places that we don't need redwood. And there we go. How does that look? I think I like it. The pine down here almost looks like it's just the redwood, but in shadow. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get to work getting all of these done in a similar format. I might do a thinner version over here, or I might just kind of fill it in. I'm not really sure yet. But at least here and everywhere it's not just 2 blocks wide, we'll go ahead and we will do this pattern. Okay, with all that done, and it is still oddly calm, I think we need to address the extra snow we suddenly have. I want to address this area right here. I don't like having just the tops of doors sticking up here, so we're going to cover these up a little bit. And also, I was thinking about putting some kind of support beam in here, because we have a pretty big room, and I was trying to figure out what we could do about a support beam, because it's going to look a little funny if we don't have any, so we need one. But we don't have anything that lines up really well here, because if I put one here, and I put a matching one there, well, we'll have a beam that lines up with this one right here, but we won't have one that lines up with this one. It'll be 2 blocks off. Similarly, if we put one here, well, we can't do it over here because the stairs are here, and that would get in the way. So I'm thinking we kind of split the difference, and we just sort of put it here. So it is between the two. And don't notice it. Just don't look. It'll be fine. Let's go ahead and we're going to actually maybe even keep these. I might just sort of build these on top of the stone, as if the stone was a stronger foundation. And we are going to need to use some more of this, but I want to just get 3 up now. That isn't where I wanted it to go. As I was saying, we're going to put it right here. And right here. Right there, like I said. Now that will preclude us from being able to like sneak around this way onto this side of this, but I think it's okay. Now the second thing is I want to cover up some of these doorways, specifically all of them. And we're just going to put some of like this up there. What do you have down here? Let's do some of that. And then 2 of those. Let's continue this one up a little bit and over. And we'll do 2 more of you. And we're going to turn these into gentle slopes. Like so. But then we'll come in and we will finish this job right there. Now when we are traversing around these, we can just sort of climb on top of them without having to worry about tiptoeing across the tops of the door frames. I think it's time for us to get a roof on here. And maybe even before we make it morning, there is something we can do to prepare for it. We're going to need some more dirt, which I have right in this chest here. Even though it's not what this dirt's supposed to be for, it's fine. And then let's go ahead and grab the rest of this stuff. And we're just going to block this off. And we're going to pretty much just do a bit of, let's see, that and that. And then we'll leave that alone because you're not sticking out. Ooh, we should probably fill these up too before anything decides to spawn in there. And then we'll come in with the granite cobblestone. We're just going to lay this out in here like this. And we could, I suppose, come in and maybe on the corners here, we'll take out the cobblestone and we will put some bricks on the corners just for a bit of extra support. But in reality, we're not going to notice these much because they're going to be kind of hidden. And that's because of what we're going to do with the roof in order to keep drifters from being able to clamber onto the roof. Now, roofing is pretty simple as far as heights of blocks goes. And normally, if we have a roof like this, we can, of course, walk right up it. And we can jump from roof to roof. But if we have a roof right there, we can't jump on it. And drifters can only climb as high as a player can jump. So we don't have to worry about drifters being able to get up on our roof if we have our roof, say, on top of, where they're kind of on top of and adjacent to the stone bricks and the cobblestone up there. So in the morning, starting at that far end behind me, we're going to line that with some of our roof and do a very gentle slope up to about here, where we'll kind of end that part of the roof and maybe transition into a different roof for over this area eventually. That won't be in this episode though. That'll be for later, but we'll get the grass roof in here and then we'll bring up the outer walls to meet it as much as we need to, as well as these supports up to the ceiling, because we are going to have a wooden ceiling underneath the roof there, so we're not looking at the underside of dirt blocks. I'll see you all in the morning. Good morning, folks. Before we get started on our roof over the barn, I wanted to show you, now that we have finished another round of refractory firing or cementation firing, let's take a look at the bricks we made a couple episodes ago, now that we have more options. Let's go ahead and let's make a few of these, along with the tier 3s. These being tier 2s, of course. And there we go. So we now have all 3 tiers of bricks here. Let's take a look. There actually is a physical difference in the world. Let's drop a tier 1, and a tier 2, and a tier 3. As you can see, they get progressively darker with just the sort of orange and white here, or salmon and white. Then we have the salmon white and green. Then we have salmon white, a bit of green here, but then the dark speckles of the ilmenite. And of course, since they are not broken yet, they're not cracked, we can pick them up just fine with a pickaxe or by your hands. So let's go ahead here and we're just going to use probably straight to the tier 3s. Let's go ahead and place these guys like so. And you can, of course, mix and match these safely in your cementation furnaces without issue. There we go. Awesome. Now, chances are we'll probably never have to replace these blocks here because they only have a 1% chance of breaking or firing. So, yeah, we are... Oh, one more right here. Missed that one. We are good to go. And if I missed any others, then it will yell at me when I try to put anything into the coffins. All right, I'm going to fire that up and we'll get back to the roof. All right, folks, here we are. So what I'm imagining doing here is we're going to drop a piece of dirt there and then just start this all across here like so. When we get to the corner here and the corner here, we can tear out this dirt block. We don't need you anymore. And we'll just do not quite. You're on the right track. There we go. Which means we can do that right there. And then we can continue these. Maybe, I don't know, 3? Do we do 3? We could do, that'd be a 1 to 4 slope. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the second one. We'd have 1 here, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. That would bring us up to there, basically. That might be a little tall. Then again, if we're building a room or a series of rooms right in here, their ceilings are going to be about that tall. Just not from that floor, because the floor's going to be about there. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, and if it doesn't work out later, we can always come back and change it. So that means we are going to need some more stone here to build up these walls. But for now, let's go ahead and fill these in and see how it looks. All right, good morning, folks. We are back at it, and I decided what to do about the chickens here because I don't really want to build a solid wall here. I feel like it would just sort of kind of ruin the aesthetic here of having a nice big wide open barn. So I thought maybe we could be extra cruel and give the chickens a literal glass ceiling instead. How's that sound, guys? Let's get this glass ceiling in there. Now these chickens know exactly how high they can go. They can see no higher. And now that this is all closed in, we can go ahead and we can clean up the snow mess in here once and for all, and it should never return. Okay, there we go. We can now have a nice, mostly snow-free interior. These chisel blocks will kind of keep their snow until spring. Not much we can do unless we want to break them all, replace them, and I'm not in the mood for that. Now, it is going to be quite dark in here, but I've come prepared. We have some lanterns to place around. Now, the unfortunate thing is I didn't really think about lantern placement ahead of time, and I probably should have because this is, of course, an even hour build, so lantern placement gets a little funky. But I think we're going to start with lanterns there, and then maybe like there and there. And that should illuminate this area pretty well and keep drifters at bay. Yeah, we have lights, they're pretty close. And also the animals will not despawn by having lights so close. But of course we are going to go ahead and make some skylights for the animals. Let's go ahead and do that now. I wanted to get some light for you guys. So let's do something like this. So right there and right here. Thank you. And then we'll do here. that ought to do. We will want to figure out how to not fall down into everything we do here. We will want to figure out how to work this into a kind of like wooden frame, but for now, that will do just fine. Let's get some for our poor chickies over here. They'll just get like a little strip here, I think. Right along, say, here. And then we'll kind of mirror this over here, but a little bit longer. Although, it might make better sense to not make it any longer. That way we have two of the same sized features up above there. So, with that being said, let's see if I can figure out how to line this up and put some pretend glass in. And with a bit of cleanup, there we go. All we need next is a ceiling and probably bringing these supports up to the roof. And then we'll be ready for some animals, except for the troughs. Now, I do want to leave the troughs over at the other farm too, because it's kind of part of the design. I think I made a couple extras, or I didn't. That's fine. We'll make some now. And it's probably better to make them now because I'm pretty sure I saw that Tyron is changing the trough recipe to require, you guessed it, nails and strips. So let's make 6 of these, 8 of these, and then we'll just make a bunch of these too. And one last one right there. Okay. Now, if we want to, we are fully ready for animals. But I think that adventure is going to be probably the start of next episode, because getting animals here is going to be a bit of a bear. And I might mean that literally, because there is a possibility that bears might come and get in our way. And so we're going to have to build a safe corridor through which our animals can traverse from that barn all the way down to our new barn. Now, as you can see here, I also came through and I speckled some granite dry stone and some stone bricks. I put the stone brick kind of around the pine logs that I added here. I think it gives it like a nice, really well supported look, and then sort of using the dry stones to occasionally transition between the stone bricks and the cobblestone. And I think it works out pretty well. Now, bears, of course, will still be able to get up here because they can climb like crazy, but drifters and other smaller creatures will be forced to stay out. As you can see, we cannot get up to even the first level here, which is perfect. And I might even push this one back another block, maybe even 2. And maybe eventually this whole hillock just needs to go, but that's for later. But I was thinking that eventually we could possibly turn this second story thing into something else. I was thinking if we get a couple ladders out here, we can take a look at just how big and useful this place could be. So check out just how much growing space we have here. Wouldn't this be a great place for another garden? Or maybe some bees. Maybe we could put some bees down here so that they're kind of a little farther away from the house and we won't hear them as much. We can have reeds growing somewhere along here, so we can just run along here with a scythe and scythe them down. And then maybe have, I don't know, a couple more fruit trees up here or some more crop spaces. Really anything we want. But I think this could be a really fun place to experiment and turn this into more than just a kind of weirdly terraced roof with some skylights. Making this into a productive area kind of fits the theme of hobbits using all the available space that they have. Now, as for these stairs up and down here, I think what I want to do is I was kind of looking at these stairs over here, and I just love how these came out. I think they look pretty awesome. So I was thinking we could kind of take this design and maybe play with it. I do like the larch, but I feel like the larch and the oak is a little bit subdued for the area that we're building in, because we have so many bolder, brighter colors that I think that the larch and the oak might get kind of lost here. Now, if we had some more ebony, I might say let's go and do some ebony for the lining of the stairs, but I think that's just not going to work because we are really short on ebony. But I was thinking we could maybe mix in some pine for the main stairs and maybe some walnut for the lining around here. I think we should give it a shot, so I'm going to go and probably copy that on our pantograph here, and then we'll be able to just drop in some chiseled blocks and then paste our design straight into it. So we'll start with the right side. It's not as contrasty as I thought it would be, but you know what? I think it's not half bad. Let's finish up the set of stairs here and see if we like it or hate it, and we'll kind of take it from there. Alright folks, just a short time later, and I have put in a simple roof, or simple ceiling, with a couple cross beams here to just kind of break up the appearance because it was a bit flat. Oh, I never quite finished this part, did I? Well, let's do that real quick. There we go. But yeah, there we go. This is going to be the interior of our new barn. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how it came out. We're going to be able to house our pigs in here. They'll have 4 troughs rather than just 2. And our sheep will get an extra one. Because they're kind of more important, we need to keep them fed and breeding so they can produce milk. Even though I said earlier that I'm not a huge fan of cheese, I do want to keep moving on the cheese anyway, just because. And of course, chickens, and we will need some hen boxes here. So I guess we can go ahead and maybe plop a couple in these corners perhaps. So we'll do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that should do, I think. Okay, now the last thing we need to do here is we do need to come in here, I think, with some fences and lightning rods. Because as you all might recall, we had a problem with lightning previously. And I think right here on these corners will be the perfect place to install some lightning rods. Never mind the fact that this is connected to the ground via wood, which is not particularly conductive. Just, ignore it. Suspension of disbelief and all that. Well everyone, that is going to about do it for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed the big barn build and the use of some new materials we haven't really touched yet in this season, as well as bringing back some old designs and some material combinations from the first season. I think in the next episode we are going to work on filling the barn, but not just the inside, also the top. I want to see about maybe planting those reeds and maybe moving some bees over, and just turning this into a general productive area. If you enjoyed the episode, let me know by leaving a like or a comment in the section below, and I'd love to have you subscribe if that's your thing. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.